Karthik Hebbar is a repeating artist for Lahari. He was here with us a year ago, and we are very glad that he's back. And he doesn't need any introduction. He's a musician. He's a complete artist. He's a musician, a composer, a poet, a singer, a playwright, a director, a theatre personality. Have I missed anything, Karthik? Because I'm not really gone to his bio. He has a very long bio. And as we speak, his play 36 Sati Savitri Nivasa, which debuted last month, has had 5 shows, and all of them were full house. And yesterday was the last show, so far, the most recent show which he has had. And he has many more plays to his credit. And he was the very first artist whom I contacted starting of 2023, just a DM asking about my intention about this topic, compositions of women artists of the Bhakthi movement. And all that he wrote back saying that March 11th after the Women's Day weekend. And it was fixed, and there was no fuss, no nothing. And amazing artist. Thank you so much, Karthik. And talking about the women composers of that time, the time which I'm talking about, it wasn't very easy for them. For example, whether it's a Karikalammayar or a Akama Devi, or Rabia of the Sufi saint, or Meera for that matter. Let's leave Andal alone, because Andal is supposed to be a goddess, and her life was very different. But apart from that, the other women composers whom we are talking about, or whom we'll be listening to today, had very difficult time, and they were not celebrated when they were alive. And we know about their compositions much later, and today we celebrate them. But what is striking is their passion towards Bhakti, and they kept going with their belief. And today we are going to listen to them, and thanks to Karthik. And over to you.
Check the mic once.
And please have your cell phones in silent mode. Thank you.
हरि गुण गावत प्रभु गुण गावत प्रिय गुण गावत नाचूंगी मैं तो हरि गुण गावत प्रभु गुण गावत प्रिय गुण गावत नाचूंगी मैं तो हरि गुण गावत नाचूंगी हरि गुण गावत प्रभु गुण गावत प्रिय गुण गावत नाचूंगी मैं तो हरि गुण गावत नाचूंगी अपने मंदिर में बैठ बैठ कर 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 गीता भागवत बांटूंगी मैं तो गीता भागवत बांटूंगी मैं तो हरि गुण गावत नाचूंगी ज्ञान दान की गठड़ी बांध कर ज्ञान दान की गठड़ी बांध कर हरिहर संग में लागूंगी हरिहर संग में लागूंगी मेरा कहे प्रभु गिरिधर नागर मेरा कहे प्रभु गिरिधर नागर मेरा कहे प्रभु गिरिधर नागर सदा प्रेम रस चाहूंगी सदा प्रेम रस चाहूंगी मैं तो हरि गुण गावत प्रभु गुण गावत प्रिय गुण गावत नाचूंगी मैं तो हरि गुण गावत प्रभु गुण गावत प्रिय गुण गावत नाचूंगी मैं तो प्रिय गुण गावत नाचूंगी मैं तो प्रिय गुण गावत नाचूंगी मैं तो So namaste everybody. I'm so glad to be doing this and sharing my thoughts and of course more of singing with you all today. This happens to be Women's Week and I'm so glad that Kaushalya asked me to come and share some of my music and this beautiful poetry with you all. From the time she has messaged me, I have had a terribly hectic time with my new play and all that. So there are a lot of things that I would have loved to do more, but I could not. And I don't tend to do things half-heartedly. So things that I have not invested myself fully in, I'm not going to touch upon those. There are things that I've delved myself deeply into. Those are the things that I can share with you with all my love and heart. Uh, when we talk about Bhakti poetry, uh, for me, this is a very fascinating question because we all understand Bhakti, right? So, for me, it's like we all have the recipe to make, say, Mysore Pak, Kesari Bhatt, or whatever sweets that you like. We all have the recipe to do that. And we all make it well. But when we eat it, we feel the sweetness. But there is no way to explain what that sweetness is. And there is no way to define what is this sweet taste. This is only an experience. And that sweetness is, I think, tailored to each of our psyches and our taste buds and who we are. And Bhakti is like that. Nobody can describe what Bhakti is because there is no definition to what Bhakti is. Bhakti can be, it's like water. It can take shape into any container that you put in. And how deep your container is, how vast your container is, depending on that, there is so much more room for Bhakti there. For me, the idea of Bhakti and understanding Bhakti began very early in life as a student of music and dance and trying to, understand what these compositions meant. And it all started with being very performative. So Bhakti was a performative exercise. So I thought wearing vibhuti, doing puja 3 times a day, going to temples and showing off, and all that meant Bhakti to me at one point. But then when you start looking within, you figure out the kind of hypocrisy that you're dealing with. And then you try to come to terms with understanding that maybe this is not Bhakti. Bhakti is somewhere else. And when you try to look at that, I think that is where you find this connection. For me, but there was a very interesting story. I think most of you must have heard it. So this is the story for me that defines what Bhakti is, irrespective of what we believe in, who we believe in, and why we believe in, right? So this is a very popular story. I think most of you might have known, so pardon me for repeating it. So apparently there was a village, and the village was suffering from a heavy drought. Okay, so there is no water. So the animals are dying, the crops are failing. So there is drought, and so the village elders, they come together, and that time there is a question of prashne, of asking with astrologers. So what will it take for the rain gods to be pleased and to bring rains? And then they decide that there should be an all-night Sankirtan. So that will bring the rain. Okay, so on such a day, on this night, it has to begin at night 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. and has to go on until the morning, and then the rains will come. So the people were prepared, and the whole village was very excited about this, and they all started making arrangements and all. Everybody left to the Sankirtan near the temple. There is a story of this one mother and a kid. And when the mother left, the kid was not ready to leave because he was searching for something. So the mother asked, "What are you searching for?" So he said, "I'm searching for an umbrella." And the mother asked, "Why?" "Because at the end of the Sankirtan there will be rains. And I need the umbrella so that we can come back home safely." So this is what Bhakti is. So unapologetically, undoubtedly believing in something. So people went, but they still are not sure whether it may rain. And this child is sure that it is going to rain, and he is going to take an umbrella, and for him it is going to rain no matter what. So that is what Bhakti is. So now understanding this, that one story, it like changed the way I look at Bhakti, and probably understanding that, yeah, right. So this is how Bhakti was. Now there is another twist. The idea of God was also is very, very confusing for many people. So what is this God? Who is this God? Who do we trust in God? Whether it is an idol, whether it is beyond an idol, how do we comprehend this? So why did idols come in first place? So that we can focus on something and to give a form to something that is formless, and so that we can pray to that form, so that it makes us easier, because our mind is so finite in spite of it being infinite, that we need to focus it into something. So that is where the concept of ideals came. Okay. So now with this idea of what God is and what Bhakti is, so most of the compositions that fascinate me more are all the compositions that men write about Radha and Yashoda. All these saints, bhaktas, and everybody seem to have a tinge of jealousy with Radha and Yashoda or Kausalya or anybody it is, because Bhakti is more easily attainable through love. That is the easiest way. Bhakti is more easy when it is, packaged with love. And love is the only way with which we can understand things that cannot be comprehended. So there are things, when you say concept of Krishna, okay, that has come to our pantheon, Indian pantheon, the concept of Krishna. We say Anurenu Trina. So he is there in the minutest of the atoms, in the blade of a grass, and he's also there in the macroscopic sky. He's in the space. He is occupied ether, all the planets, all the universes. Now, if you are going to hold a concept that is spread through the entire universe, right from the atom to something big, how do you comprehend that? How do you comprehend that? So when you look at it like that, you will feel like it is something I cannot comprehend, I cannot touch. But when that whole thing comes as a child, all that you need to be is a mother. You need to hold it, kiss it, make it sleep, beat it, make love to it, whatever you want to do, and then this whole concept is just in your hand as a mother. And as Radha, she owns up to him as a lover. And so this idea of love is what makes most of the saints jealous, that they attain to this thing so easily by just falling in love. And we are here studying scriptures, doing meditation, fasting, doing whatnot, and here is this woman who just has to hold him and kiss him because she's his mother. So this is from where initially the idea of where, how I connect to this topic today is, most of bhaktas, most of the literature around bhakti, even by men, they have sought out to the idea of femininity. Most Haridasas have written to God as a dasi, as his lover. Kabir has spoken of Ram as his lover. There are so many saints. They have all turned into women to pray God. Why? So that is a very interesting question. So why do all the bhaktas, you can take of Jayadeva, you can take of anybody, they all have turned into women to talk about their Lord? What is it? That is the power of femininity, because I think only in the idea of feminine, there is complete surrender, there is complete flawless love, there is complete ownership, and there is complete idea of bhakti comes only with the feminine identity. And that is why all the pantheons of bhakti, everywhere you can talk about Periyalvar, anybody, they have all at one part of their Tirupavai section, they become women and they write about God as women. And they have to become women because that is what it is. So this idea of femininity is what has ruled over the Bhakti pantheon, even though we do not know it. Tyagaraja, anybody you take, Annamaya, everybody have written as women in one of few compositions to Lord. So why that happens is because, like I said, the power of feminine is so strong. And while we say this, we also have to acknowledge that we live in a very patriarchal society, and we are journeying through patriarchy and understanding how women have to deal with so many things living in the society that we live in. And within this framework, where women are not allowed to go out, not allowed to have an education, not allowed to express themselves the way they have. Okay, so I had recently, some time back, I think 2 years or back, so that Randomly, I did a Instagram video or reel that went like crazy viral. People like Shubha Mutkal and all were sharing about it. I was talking about when we learn Indian music history. So we learn about all the granthas, right, that were written. So starting from Natya Shastra to everything, all the Sangeeta Vibhada, whatever we want to cover. And I had a list of 40 books that we study as theory that has come to us. All are written by men. So I was wanting to ask, so have women never contributed to Indian classical music? Is it only the men who write the Shastras? Or do we come to accept that many of them have been erased? And many of them have been appropriated by men. Many of the names have been turned into male writers' names, which is the reality. Even when we study padas, when we study so many Javadis and all, today we have come to understand that they were all written by women, but have been appropriated with male names. Were written by courtesans, which were appropriated with even Kshetraya Padams. Now researchers have come to believe that Kshetraya might have been a fictional character, and maybe it's just a name given to the compositions written collectively by courtesans from that area. So so that kind of research has come to has made us realize that women have been always erased. But in spite of that erasure, some women really stood out. They fought. They came out and expressed their bhakti in the open. And hence, the women poets who have written bhakti poetry are not just poets who have written about bhakti. Their poems is also about protest. So their bhakti is a protest. Just being able to express bhakti is a protest. It is a protest. So we have to remember that, and I will speak through many more of them. I will begin with one such poem of protest. विठ्ठला पांडुरंगा केशव केशव विठ्ठला केशव विठ्ठला पांडुरंगा केशवा विठ्ठला डोईचा पदर आला कंठावरी डोईचा पदर आला कंठावरी डोईचा पदर आला कंठावरी भरल्या बाजारी जाईना मी डोईचा पदर आला कंठावरी भरल्या बाजारी जाईना मी डोईचा पदर आला कंठावरी Janabai, she's saying that my pallu has fallen. Doitsa Padar Manakara, it has fallen down. And now I've come to the bazaar. I'm now a bazaar aurat who has left everything and I'm standing in the market. Don't you know me? That is what I have become. I've shed everything. I don't care for anybody. I've let my pallu fall and I'm standing in the bazaar. हाती घेन ठाळ खंदावरी वीणा हाती घेन ठाळ खंदावरी वीणा आत माझ मन कोण करी आता माझ मन कोण करी हात घेन ठाळ I hold the tar in my hand Kadavari Veena, the tankar or Veena hangs on my shoulder. Adamazamana Kona Kari, I will do whatever comes to my mind. I don't care. Why? Doitsa Padar Ala Kanthavari Doitsa Padar Ala Kanthavari Barya जाईना मी डोईचा पदर पंढरीचा पेठे मांडील पाल पंढरीचा पेठे in the पेठे market of Pandharapur Panduranga's market मांडील पाल I have set up a shop. Pal is the Marathi colloquial word for horse house, a prostitute's house. So in Pandharapur, in Panduranga's market, I have opened a horse house. I have become a prostitute. Pandharitsa pete, monile pale, manvathavar tele, ghala tumhi, manghatavar tele, ghala tumhi. And what business I do here? I will do tail malish. What kind of tail? The fragrance oils. I will take all of them and do tail malish to whoever comes to my market. Whoever comes to my whole house, I will do tail malish. Please come. This is in the city of Panduranga. Mani ghatavar tel ghala tumhi jani mane deva deva म्हणे देवा मी झाले येसवा जाणी म्हणे देवा मी झाले येसवा निघाले केशवा घर तुझे निघाले केशवा घरी तुझे जाणी म्हणे देवा ओ पांडुरंगा ओ देवा जाणी म्हणे you know this Janabai what have become a Vaishya. I have become a Vaishya because of you. Why? Because I trust only in you. I trust only in you and what it will do. You called me a whore. So I don't care anymore. I've shed my pallu. I'm standing in a market. I've opened my shop. Anybody is welcome to the store where I sell the fragrance oils of what? I think is Bhakti. Jani mane deva mi dhale yesava nighale kesava घर तुझे दोईचा पद आला पंढरी भरल्या बाजारी जाईन मी भरल्या बाजारी 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 जाईन मी Janabai writes here so boldly. I'm sure she was criticized for the way she took on Bhakti. She went on the streets and sang and she did not care for anybody. She went through a lot of hardships as a Bhakti, as a poetess. That is a common thread between all the Bhakti poetesses if you consider. Most of them, 90% of them were born in good families. They were born in good families, but then post-marriage, their words changed, and from that they broke out of that and came out. Most of the compositions talk about mother-in-law. Most of them talk about the husband being insensitive, and then trying to find this kind of love through God. Janabai was of course highly inspired and was a student of Ramdev also. So in this poem, I think she's trying to say, by being very salty to all the men who are making fun of her, is that only when you remove your pallu and surrender is when you will see Panduranga. That is where you can, that is what is Bhakti for her, complete removal of shame. But as long as we have shame, I think there is always doubt. And wherever there is doubt, I don't think there can be Bhakti. Because Bhakti comes with 100% trust. And for that 100% trust, there can be no shame. Today, I think most of them still carry shame, even people who like to worship, they're afraid to go out if they are wearing the dhoti or whatever, they're afraid to go in the same costume to their offices. Why? Because I think there is an element of shame there somewhere. And so we might tell that we openly accept whatever we do, but we all associate some shame even to our Bhakti. So that is what Janabai is doing here. She's saying, I've become a bazaar. If you want to call me bazaru, call me bazaru. But what is my bazaar? My bazaar is in Panduranga's place. And I've opened a horse house in her place. And there I do tail malish to whoever comes. What is this tail? The oil, fragrance. And this tail is nothing but her poetry, her music, which flows like a fragrance oil. So I'm going to put those oils on all of you and spread this fragrance of love. And Vithala, Panduranga, Keshava, I trusted you. So people are calling me a Vaishya today. I don't care. I'm going to be a Bazaar Aurat, but I'm going to be here, standing always, believing in what I want to believe. And here what she wants is also very beautifully a different kind of relationship with her Lord. So with her Lord, there is of course Atma, Jivatma, Bhakta, the Paramatma, this concept is there. But what here she is trying to establish by the use of word Bazaar is that I am giving you the service of Bhakti and the God is my customer. So very beautifully A.K. Ramanujam also in one of his books in which he covers all the erotic poetry from the Padas, Javalis and and tradition from South India, he has labeled the book God as a customer. So to all of these people, God is a customer, and they are the bazaar aurats who are selling their bhakti to God, and God is the one who has to purchase bhakti from them. So she's opened this stall where she's going to sell off her bhakti to Vithala. So I think in layers, this composition speaks a lot, and this is, I think, a beautiful example for how protest can come across in poetry. There were many poets like we have heard of Lahari from Kashmir, who was also brutally abused by the home she was married into, and her mother-in-law kept abusing her, calling her bad names, and she walked out of the house in bhakti, and ultimately she reached a stage where she roamed around naked. And that is the complete opening of self to God. So one such Lal Det was also here with us, and all this, I must tell you that all these poems from Mayor's time to anybody we call to today, they were all the roots of feminism in India. So our Indian feminism traces its roots back to this literature. So this is from where feminism began. The idea of women empowerment began. Idea of owning up to what I want began. And breaking away a man's word and establishing my rights began through bhakti. So these are the roots of feminism. So one such poetess is our own very Akka Mahadevi. She is also a person who shed everything, her family, her marital life, everything, and came out roaming as a Digambara, as a naked woman, roaming around and talking about Shiva and criticizing the society, criticizing the system and everything. Another way that these all beautiful women in their poetry and all that, they, I think, protested was this with idea of Shringara, or this idea of loving the God open-heartedly. I'm going to parallelly bring in 3 poems, 3 small verses. One is from Meera, one is from Akka, and the other one is a verse from Anda. So how they survived in this man's world by expressing their love for God. व्यथा लागो अंतर. For you, I left everything. Now why do you make me suffer? Viraha Vyatha, the pain of Viraha is piercing the insides of my body. Viraha Vyatha lago urantar so tumaye bujao. I think that's quite understandable. So tumaye bujao. अब छोड़त नहीं बने प्रभु जी, अब छोड़त नहीं बने प्रभु जी, हंस कर तुरंत बुलाओ मीरा दासी जन्म जन्म की, मीरा दासी जन्म जन्म की, अंग से अंग लगाओ मीरा दासी जन्म जन्म की, अंग से अंग लगाओ. ಕಿಚ್ಚಿಲ್ಲದ ಬೇಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಂದೆನುವ, ಕಿಚ್ಚಿಲ್ಲದ ಬೇಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಏರಿಲ್ಲದ ಗಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನೊಂದೆನವ್ವ, ಏರಿಲ್ಲದ ಗಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನೊಂದೆನವ್ವ, ಸುಖವಿಲ್ಲದ ಧಾವತಿಗೊಂಡೆನವ್ವ, ಸುಖವಿಲ್ಲದ ಧಾವತಿಗೆ ಕೊಳ್ಳೆನವ್ವ, ಚನ್ನಮಲ್ಲಿಕಾರ್ಜುನ ದೇವಗೊಲಿದು, ಚನ್ನಮಲ್ಲಿಕಾರ್ಜುನ ದೇವಗೊಲಿದು, ಭಾರದ ಭವಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಂದೆನವ್ವ, ಬಿರಹ ವ್ಯಥಾ लागे उरंतर ಭಾರದ ಭವಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಂದೆನುವ, ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಕಾಮನ ಕಾಲ ಹಿಡಿವೆ, ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಕಾಮನ ಕಾಲ ಹಿಡಿವೆ, ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಚಂದ್ರಮಂಗೆ ಸೆರಗೊಡ್ಡಿ ಬೇಡುವೆ, ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಚಂದ್ರಮಂಗೆ ಸೆರಗೊಡ್ಡಿ ಬೇಡುವೆ, ಸುಡು ವಿರಹವನು ಸುಡು ವಿರಹವನು ಸುಡು ವಿರಹವನು ಸುಡು ಸುಡು ವಿರಹವನು ಆರಿಗೆ ಧೃತಿಗೆಡುವೆ, ಸುಡು ವಿರಹವನು ಆರಿಗೆ ಧೃತಿಗೆಡುವೆ, ಚನ್ನ ಮಲ್ಲಿಕಾರ್ಜುನ ಚನ್ನ ಮಲ್ಲಿಕಾರ್ಜುನ ಆ ಗತಿಯಾದೆನವ್ವ ಭಾರದ ಭವನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಂದೆನವ್ವ अब हमें क्यों तरसाए हो अब हमें क्यों तरसाए हो दासी जन्म जन्म की अंग से अंग लगाए हो सुवरल पुराण पेरஎழுதி சுவரில் புராண உன் பேரெழுதி சுழுவனர் குடிகளும் துரங்கங்களும் கவரி பின்னாக்களும் கருப்பும் வில்லும் காட்டு தந்தேன் கண்டாய் காமதேவா கண்டாய் காமதேவா அவரை பிராயம் தொடங்கி என்றும் ஆதரித்து எழுந்த என் தடமுலைகள் அவரை பிராயம் தொடங்கி என்றும் ஆதரித்து எழுந்த என் தடமுலைகள் துவரை பிரானுக்கே சங்கற்பித்து தொழுது வைத்தேன் உள்ளை விதிகிற்றையே சுவரில் புராணனின் பேரெழுதி with fingers dipped in lamp black I draw your name on the wall, O ancient one. I draw prancing horses for your chariot that flies your Piscean banner, and your bow of ripest sugarcane and exquisite women to fan you. From childhood, I longed for him alone. To him I offer my growing breasts, supple and full. May Dwaraka's Lord cup my breasts. This is my prayer, Kamadeva. Make my offering. O Kamadeva, make my offering. So these are the three verses of three women from three different regions. Akkamadevi, Mirabai and Andar. And all of them expressing Bhakti through Shringara, through Viraha, through offering themselves both physically, eternally, philosophically, spiritually, in every which way to the God that they believed was their husband. To the God who believed and they knew was their husband and was the only one who they would take as their husband. Meera believed, Mere to Giridhar Gopal, dusro na koi. Akka Mahadevi said, Linga Galiyada, Mikka Gandesarilla. She said, nobody else can be my husband other than you. The whole world are women, only you are the only man for me, is what Akka said. And Andar knew that she belonged to Vishnu from the day she was born. So these three women, with their ultimate grit and confidence, they express in Bhakti their love, their Shringara. So I thought it was a beautiful coming together of three different regions, talking how similarly they talk and how similarly they look at Bhakti, but still are diverse in their own ways. Another poetess again from Maharashtra, was an illiterate woman who was married at a very young age to a very older priest. And this man held her captive. He used to tie her and keep her in room in arrest. And even when she was under arrest, she would sing poems in pain to Vithala. And because she had no relationship with her husband, who was an older man who used to beat her, she would always confide in a cow, which was her very good friend, a calf. She used to believe that this calf is my friend. And it is said that Ramdev was born as a calf. He came in the disguise of a calf to console her. Another very important aspect of all the poems that the Bhakti movement, and especially to the female voice, has come is their strong voice of feminism, their strong voice of grit and love, of course, but another was, it is a space for them to vent out. So this was their therapy. These poems were therapeutic for them. This is how they healed the pains that a man's world incited upon them. So this woman who loved the cow so much used to always be with the cow and take care of the cow, and the man could not tolerate that when he butchered the cow in front of her. And that day she is said to have cried without food. And eventually she drank so strongly that she turns her husband also to a bhakta of her own. She makes her husband falls at her feet and become her disciple and takes him along in her journey of bhakti. This strong woman was Bainabai. There were two Bainabais in Marathi literature. One that I am talking about is from the Sant tradition. The other one, a Bhakti poetess who came much later, was called Baina Chaudhary. And this is the only saint poet, Bainabai, who has also written autobiography of herself. Amazing to come from an illiterate background and then to, come like this. And another very important point of all of these Bhakti poetess were they denounced Sanskrit. They used the colloquial language to connect to the masses. They wanted their voice to be heard by the masses. They didn't care about being elite, knowledgeable in that way. They wanted to use the voice of the masses. Even Laldev, even though she knew very good Kashmiri slang, she used a very local dialect of Kashmir to write because it could connect with the masses of the and she could go around and spread her love, her bhakti to these people. All these poets have done that. Even Meera, even though she was from a very rich background, she uses colloquial Brij Bhasha, then goes to Eastern Rajasthani slang. She even writes Gujarati, and she uses these languages also in her poetry, so that her idea was to spread her words through the masses. So they all denounced Sanskrit and they used local languages. The same comes to even if you look at the poetry of Avayar or Akkai. So even their poetry is of very local colloquial Tamil. There are two type of compositions. One is the Jnana Rasa compositions, which are Sanskrit based and which are highly philosophical, and there are others which are totally criticizing the society, criticizing everything that we think today are progressive. They have criticized that so many centuries ago in their poetry. Her poetry is brilliant. I cannot sing them to you right now because I have not worked on them enough. So I don't want to do a half-hearted job by presenting them like that. There'll be another time probably when I'll talk about that because I'm in love with the way she has written. There's a poem called Echel in which she calls everything as Echel. She calls a man's word Echel, she calls religious Echel, she calls temple Echel, everything. And she says only one thing is pure, that is my bhakti, everything is meaningless. And then there is another composition in which she criticizes the practice of isolating women during menstruation. So she has written a composition about that. Then she has written a composition about mental health. She was a brilliant woman. I was reading through her works, and she knew philosophy, she knew Sanskrit, she knew mathematics, She has written about ship construction. She knew about economics, and she developed a board game for women to play in their free time, in her time. In Chenkote, there are houses which still have those board games. She constructed board games which they could play in their free time, and these board games were not just entertainment; they were empowering. They were, general knowledge questions and stuff. And just imagine the kind of entrepreneurial mind she had at her time. So these amazing women and their poetry. So in similar lines, Bahina Bai, in very simple words in this composition, as I sing through, I'll explain. She talks about what life means to her, and so beautifully for men, when male poets write, even bhaktas, they easily say, leave samsara, leave everything, because most of the men don't have to take care of the samsara, right? Because women do that. Let us be honest. They manage the home, they do everything at home, and they are the people who make sure that there are no fights, the relationship will hold people together, your children together, families together, and traverse through things. So women are the people who do that in families, at least in the patriarchal society that we have been. And so women poets, most often, in their poetry you will not find the samsara is useless, leave the samsara. They don't write that. They write about how we have to survive within samsara. Like in English literature and many other feminist literature, we have novels which are called kitchen table novels. So women writing from kitchen tables. So like Honorary Jeffrey, like Rakte, she wrote a brilliant black history novel, which is also considered a kitchen table novel. So one of my one of a poetess I love, and who was also very close to me, Vaidini, she once told me when we were talking that men tell that we write poems from kitchens, say they are in the kitchen. So she asked me, are women really in the kitchen? Once you learn cooking, you don't have to memorize anything, it is body memory for you. You cook, if you have to make a sambar, you have to make a rasam, you have to make something, your body will make it for you. You don't have to invest so much. Where are our minds at that time? We are not in the kitchen. We are traveling the world. While we are cooking, we are thinking about something. We are traveling. We are seeing dreams. We are writing poetry. So don't label us as people in the kitchen. In the kitchen, while we cook for you, our mind flies. It takes fleets. Right? So very beautifully she writes that. And this poem is celebration of that. Even the greatest of saints, the way we look at philosophy in Indian Python, I'm not using the word Hindu because Hindu is a term that came after the British, right? So even prior to that, what India was thinking, so we had the freedom to criticize everything. We still have the freedom to criticize everything. So like while I was a great devout follower of Shankara's philosophy and reading this context, so eventually, like when you study a lot, Dakshinamurti Stotra was one of my favorites. But there in one line he says, Stri Balaka Itihi, and says, your mind will become weak like Stri and Balaka. And that broke my heart because again, even the greatest of philosophers are men. When they are men, patriarchy seeps in their writing. So, but when women write, so this is what it happens. This is what happens. अरे संसार संसार जसा तवा चुल्हावर, अरे संसार संसार जसा तवा चुल्हावर, आधी हातला घटके तेव्हा मिलते भाकर, आधी हातला घटके तेव्हा मिलते भाकर, अरे संसार संसार. अरे samsar, samsar. What is this samsar? It is like a tawa on a chulha. It is like a tawa on fire. When you put the hand, unless it chataka, it's not burn. You know, it's that when you do rotis, you do bhakar roti, you have to put it on the tawa, right? So you feel a burn. Unless you feel the burn, you will not get bhakar roti to eat. So samsar is like that. अरे संसार संसार जैसा तवा चूल्हा पर, आधी हातला घटके तेव्हा मिलते भाकर, अरे संसार संसार. अरे संसार संसार कोटा कधी मानू नये, अरे संसार संसार कोटा कधी मानू नये, रावणाच्या कळसाला लोटा कधी मानू नये, रावणाच्या कळसाला लोटा कधी मानू नये. अरे संसार संसार कोटा कधी मानू नये. Don't say that the samsara is a lie. The samsara is not a lie. It is a reality. रावणाच्या कळसाला, like you won't call the kalash on the temple gopura or the kalasha you see, you won't call it a lota, right? It is a very precise kalasha. Let it life. Don't call it a lie. The samsara, don't call it a lie and dismiss it. It is very real. It is very divine. Let us celebrate samsara. Let us not denounce it. Let us learn how to celebrate samsara. अरे संसार संसार नहीं रढ़न कोढ़न, अरे संसार संसार नहीं रढ़न कोढ़न, येड्या गाया तर हार म्हणून करे लोढन, येड्या गळा तर हार म्हणून करे लोढन. अरे संसार संसार नाही रुढन कुढन. No matter how much of praying, crying is there, no matter how much of hurt is there, don't dismiss this life. This life will be your garland if you know how to wear it. So learn the sanskar to wear it like a garland rather than disowning it. अरे संसार संसार दोनों जीवांचा विचार, अरे संसार संसार दोनों जीवांचा विचार, देतो सुखाला कर आणि दुखाला होकार, देतो सुखाला कर आणि दुखाला होकार. अरे संसार संसार दोनों जीवांचा विचार. This samsara is not something that you will do alone. It's dono jivansa vichar. Husband and wife, parents and children, Paramatma, Jivatma, God, Bhakta, it can be anything. The samsara is always between two people. So don't take decisions alone about samsara. Don't dismiss it. Don't be selfish. Remember that there is somebody else involved in every decision that you make. Dono jivansa vichar. And Deto Dukha Sukha. Don't just bother about gathering joy, because when you just when you just want to grab joy all the time, then your life becomes a lie. Be prepared. Always wait for pain. In that pain only truth will come to you. So don't say I live the samsara and I'll become joyful. Stay in the samsara, feel the pain and use this pain, wear it like a garland, wear it like a kalash and roam around. This is what is Bhakti forever. What a beautiful poem. So this is Mahina Bhai, and this is what she writes in very simple language, in simple terms. She has said such a deep thing. If you look at it, it's so easy for everybody to denounce samsara and walk away and live like sages, but to live within the samsara, and to celebrate bhakti, to celebrate spirituality, to practice denouncement is so difficult, and she's talking about that in very simple words. some beautiful translations of them. Again, this is also it's okay. It's in the same rag also. Beautiful. I'll just sing it first and then talk about it and read. It's again from Nachar Tirumuri. So it's one of my most favorite pieces of literature. The entire thing. I'm in love with it. Every time I read through it and try to sing it, it's one of my favorite pieces. So this is one small bit of Nachar Tirumuri. எங்கள் சிற்று வந்து சிறையே பேயுமா மூகில் போல் வண்ணா எங்கள் சிற்று வந்து சிறையே எங்கள் சிற்று வந்து சிறையே செய்கையும் எங்கள் மயில் ஏற்றி மயக்க உங்கள் பேச்சும் செய்கையும் எங்கள் மயில் ஏற்றி மயக்க உன்முகம் மாய மந்திரம் தான் கோலோ உன்முகம் மாய மந்திரம் தான் கோலோ பேயுமா மூகில் போல் எங்கள் சிற்றில் வந்து சிறையே நோயர் பிள்ளைகள் என்பது கல்லை நோவனாங்கள் உரைக்கிறோம் நோயர் பிள்ளைகள் என்பதற்கெல்லை நோவனாங்கள் உரைக்கிறோம் செய்ய தாமரை கண்ணினாய் செய்ய தாமரை கண்ணினாய் எங்கள் சிற்றில் வந்து சிதையே சிற்றில் வந்து சிதையே Storm dark Lord, you hold us in thrall with but a word. You hold us in thrall with but a word. And even your silence captivates us. When you hold us in thrall with but a word, even your silence captivates us. The faint outline of a face we can't make out quite yet bewitches us. Even this faint outline of a face that we can't make out, it still bewitches us. More than magic, it bewitches us. We are innocent children and not know what to do. We are just innocent children who do not know what to do. Oh dearest one, your eyes bloom like lotus beds, unfurling to drink us in. Your eyes bloom like lotus buds, unfurling to drink us in. Don't wreck our sand castles. Don't wreck our sand castles. In this whole Tirumoli piece which is called Namo Ayram. There is a full series of poems, it's beautiful literature, in which she talks about these girls, including Nachiyar herself. They are trying to build a sand castle, and she's asking, don't. Vishnu comes and just kicks it and walks away. So don't break the sand castles. We as children, we're just playing. So there are so many levels to how we look at this poetry. On a very basic level, Nachiyar and her friends are playing, and Krishna really comes and kicks the sandcastle, and so she's fighting with him. She's angry. There are next verses where she really she scolds Krishna also in this. And on another level, these sand castles are what they've built in their heart. The castles of love, sand castles of love that they've built in this heart. And Krishna, she's asking him not to come and break her heart. He's saying, we are innocent children who have trusted you, and we have built castles. We are building castles every day. So don't come and kick it away and go, because we trust you. Please, hold on to us. And there is such beautiful metaphor in Indian poetry, literature. Rivers, seas are always representative of time, because they keep flowing, and water evaporates into clouds and comes back as rain. So it's like time. It's recycling, and there is no future, past, present is all flowing into each other. We always say time is flowing. So where do we build sand castles? Near the river. So in the borders of time, we are building sand castles slowly. As we grow mature, our bhakti is also growing. We are building the sand castles. And who is Krishna? Mugilvanna. So nature, the metaphor of clouds coming as rain, and when the rain comes, the castles will break. So there is a beautiful metaphor even for that, to look at Krishna in the clouds, to look at time flowing as river, and our love and bhakti growing as sands, and everything, seeing God in everything. So that is this is a very beautiful set of poetry, which is very, very close to my heart. The Tirumoli, the entire aspects of Nachiyar Tirumoli is something I really love. So I just thought I'll sing this part for you. And how much time do we have?
As long as you want. Say another 15-20 minutes.
Okay. So I'll touch upon two more songs. One is another. Let's come to this. We all know about Haridasa Parampara in Karnataka. So it is the sect that was created by Guru Vyasa and Madhvacharya, to celebrate or to propagate the Advaita philosophy to the masses. So there was two sects. There was a Dasakuta and there was a Vyasakuta. Vyasakuta is where the saints studied Sanskrit philosophy and all that of Madhva, and in Dasakuta they used simple Kannada language, went on the streets wearing anklets, dancing in the streets and propagating the Dvaita philosophy. Purnaradasa, Kanakadasa, everybody comes to it. Only one Haridasa falls in both Dasakuta and Vyasakuta, that is Vadiraja Swami. So in this sect, there is also female Haridasas. One such is Hedavanakatte Giriyamma. So this piece is by Hedavanakatte Giriyamma. Even her writings are very beautiful. And during the Haridasa movement, actually, because of the Vijayanagara Empire and its downfall, so there was a lot of clash between the Vaishnavite and the Shaivite sect. There was a lot of clashes happening usually. So all the dasas you can find compositions where they are trying to say that Hari and Hara are same. Like Vadiraja Swami has written Mundu Murutiyali Harihara Devaru Ibbaru. It is about the Harihara statue in the Harihara village. So where he says that in the same body, like Ardhanarishwara, there is a statue of Harihara statue that he talks about that. In this composition though, Hedavanakatte Giriyamma, I think the composition will speak for itself. ಈತಲಿಂಗ ದೇವ ಶಿವನು, ಈತಲಿಂಗ ದೇವ ಶಿವನು, ಆತಲಿಂಗ ಧಾಮ ವಿಷ್ಣು. ಈತಲಿಂಗ ದೇವ ಶಿವನು, ಆತಲಿಂಗ ಧಾಮ ವಿಷ್ಣು. ಮಾತನಾಡೋ ಮಲ್ಕು ಮನುಜ, ಮಾತನಾಡೋ ಮಲ್ಕು ಮನುಜ, ಮನದ ಅಹಂಕಾರವನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು. ಮಾತನಾಡೋ ಮಲ್ಕು ಮನುಜ, ಮನದ ಅಹಂಕಾರವನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು. ಈತಲಿಂಗ ದೇವ ಶಿವನು, ಆತ ರಂಗಧಾಮ ವಿಷ್ಣು. ವೇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಲುಕದಾತನೀತ, ವೇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಲುಕದಾತನೀತ, ವೇದ ನಾಲ್ಕು ತಂದನಾಥ. ವೇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಲುಕದಾತನೀತ, ವೇದ ನಾಲ್ಕು ತಂದನಾಥ. ಬುಧಿಮೈಯೊಳು ಧರಿಸಿದನೀತ, ಬುಧಿಮೈಯೊಳು ಧರಿಸಿದನೀತ. ಇದ್ದಗಿರಿಯ ಪೋತನಾಥ, ಇದ್ದಗಿರಿಯ ಪೋತನಾಥ. ಈತಲಿಂಗ ದೇವ ಶಿವನು, ಆತಲಿಂಗ ಧಾಮ ವಿಷ್ಣು. ವ್ಯಾಧನಾಗಿ ಓಲಿದನೀತ, ಮಾಧವ ಮಧುಸೂದನನಾಥ. ವ್ಯಾಧನಾಗಿ ಓಲಿದನೀತ, ಮಾಧವ ಮಧುಸೂದನನಾಥ. ಮದನನ್ನ ಉರುಹಿದನೀತ, ಮದನ ಪುತ್ರ ಪಡೆದಾತನಾಥ. ಮದನನ್ನ ಉರುಹಿದನೀತ, ಮದನ ಪುತ್ರ ಪಡೆದಾತನಾಥ. ಈತಲಿಂಗ ದೇವ ಶಿವನು, ಆತಲಿಂಗ ಧಾಮ ವಿಷ್ಣು. ಗಂಗೆಯ ಪೊತ್ತಾತನೀತ, ಗಂಗೆಯ ಪೊತ್ತಾತನೀತ. ಹಾಗೆ ಗರುಡ ಗಮನನು ಆತ, ಗಂಗೆಯ ಪೊತ್ತಾತನೀತ. ಹಾಗೆ ಗರುಡ ಗಮನನು ಆತ. ತುಂಗ ಹೆಳವನ ಕಟ್ಟೆ, ತುಂಗ ಹೆಳವನ ಕಟ್ಟೆ. ಲಿಂಗನೀತ ರಂಗನಾಥ, ಲಿಂಗನೀತ ರಂಗನಾಥ, ಲಿಂಗನೀತ ರಂಗನಾಥ. just how similar and yet different, and how they need not be separate or looked at as opposite entities. Very beautifully written by, very simply but very beautifully written by Karthik Hebbar. The last piece I'm going to present today is, I think, one of the compositions that I think quite a lot often. Actually, this topic is so big that each poetess deserves her own evening. So, and because they're the kind of topics that they have touched is so vast, so wide, so huge, that it's very difficult to encapsulate all of them and do justice. And like I said, I did not sing Lahari or Aware and all that because I was not very thorough with the script, and I didn't want to do a half-hearted job by singing something just for the sake of singing it. Though I did carry some of the English translations, but maybe some for another day. This last composition, I think, encapsulates the feminine Bhakti movement in India. This is a composition of Meera again, in which she talks about her journey, and she looks. See, Meera is somebody who was born in a rich family, who got married to a king, but she denounced him because she always believed she was married to Gopal. But other than that, she's somebody who did such revolutionary work. She broke the barriers of caste, and she refused to do sati for her husband, and when he died, and she went and sought refuge under Raidas, who was considered one of the most lowest caste in her region. He's a cobbler. So she went and did her spiritual practice under Raidas. And it is said that once when Raidas was, tanning the leather, the color flew into her white dress, and it took the color of saffron, that very different shade of saffron that Meera used to wear. And that is where she wrote, "Me Savari ki Rangarachi." So I am colored in my color of love. And from that day she denounced that color and she shifted to the color of saffron. So she broke the barriers of caste. She broke the barriers of patriarchy. She also went into society and met people who were banned because during her time the Muslim rulers were coming in, and it is said that Tansen was a big fan of Meera, and he would come along with his king, who they would come in camouflage most of the time and listen to her singing. And there is a rare record of Tansen and Meera having a musical dialogue. And you know that today we all sing a very important, there are many ragas that Tansen has devised, like the Miyaki Tori, Miyaki Malhar and all that. And there is one such Malhar conversation through which Meera Malhar was born. So there is a Malhar raga in Hindustani called Meera Malhar. It is a very difficult raga, I have not learnt it. So there are a few taranas which the raga, so she's also musical genius, not to just dismiss her as just a bhajan poet who went and sang. She also did work musically, and the raga is called Miyaki Malhar. It's a very difficult but very beautiful raga. I've heard it on a couple of occasions. So she did this, and this Meera encapsulates her journey in this one piece, because no matter what she did, no matter she was trying to kill, she was trying to, her own husband tried to poison her, and in spite of all that, she continued to live on, and she took on pain all the time. She took on pain. And another film lyricist wrote it very beautifully in a film that was released much later, Ek Radha Ek Meera, you must have all heard of it. दोनों ने शाम को चाहा, अंत कहा, दोनों के बीच में एक प्रेम दीवानी, एक तरस दीवानी. So Meera was always lost in taras, in pain. So that is what she got. And this composition talks about that. And I think the composition, most of you understand Hindi, the composition speaks for itself. I'm going to sing it in a raga of
मीरा के प्रभु पीर मिठे
जग बैद सावरिया हो, जग बैद सावरिया हो, एही मैं तो प्रेम दीवानी। जो मैं ऐसो जानती प्रीत की ये दुख हाँ, जो मैं ऐसो जानती प्रीत की ये दुख हाँ, जो मैं ऐसो जानती प्रीत की ये दुख हाँ, नगर डंडोरा पीटती, नगर डंडोरा पीटती प्रीत ना की जो कोई, नगर डंडोरा पीटती प्रीत ना की जो कोई, हरी मैं तो प्रेम दीवानी। मैं तो प्रेम दीवानी, प्रेम दीवानी, मेरो दर्द न जाने कोई, मेरो दर्द न जाने कोई। गिरिधारी केशवा विठ्ठला पांडुरंगा
Honestly, Karthik, you left us wanting more. Always, as always, that is the case. Most of the time, you even forgot to give an applause. After Nachi Arthamari, I realized after the next song, I thought we didn't even give an applause. Many times it slowly started and then, honestly.
He's given the topic for the next one. Like
I know.
Individual
Yeah.
women
I know.
poets, that's what it is. I mean,
Yeah,
so-
each one is a revolutionary, and I think today's topic by itself, although we said that women poets in Bhakti movement, Karthik brought so many layers into it. Let's say feminism, protest, patriarchy, appropriation by male. And I think we can go on forever, and I think you encompassed it so well. And of course, I had many personal favorites. That's because of my language. Nachyarthamuri was one. And even though you didn't sing, I think you should have one Akal's, Avade Akal's program by itself. Avade Akal, he didn't talk about her, but so much about her he spoke in that 3 minutes which he covered. And she was a child widow. And being a child widow at that time and coming out as a poetess, and so much more she has done. And each one, as he said, we should have one program of each one of them. And nobody could have covered it more beautifully than you. And as always, thank you so very much. So very much. I make this request every time on behalf of Lahari. Lahari is a platform which celebrates art and artists, and we want to give this kind of an immersive environment to the audience, which you would have all believed it much more today than ever. And at the same time, we believe that they bring in their knowledge, they give that kind of joy, and they should not go empty-handed. So, of course, Karthik has never demanded anything from us, but yeah,